Welcome to ET Leadership Dialogue presented by Deloitte. Today we are in conversation with three scions of leading Indian business families: Jay Kotak of Kotak Bank, Keshav Reddy of GVK Group, and Siddharth Jain of Inox Group. All three are from different industries and at different stages of their career. Also adding a perspective to our conversation is Vivek Gupta, Senior Partner at Deloitte. Appreciate you joining us, gentlemen. The topic of the discussion is tradition to transformation, preserving values while embracing change. Let's dive straight into the discussion. Family owned businesses are the backbone of Indian businesses. They contribute about 75% of the GDP, one of the highest percentages globally. But each generation has to deal with its own challenges, and they have to bring in that entrepreneurial energy and the edge that the founders bring in. The first question to all you gentlemen is: so, what is your vision for the business? How does it align with or redefine its current trajectory? Why I ask this is because Deloitte statistics say that 80% of next gen will do it differently. We can start with you, Siddharth.
Well, I believe what you said. 75% of India's GDP is driven by family businesses, and a lot to do with the legacy that comes with family businesses, the trust factor, all the stakeholders that are connected in most of our businesses. You will see we look at it as a family. All the employees, everybody together. There is a common vision. There is a thought process that we all follow ethical business practices. So I do believe that we have a unique blend. Our culture gives us this ability to think like a family and really care about each other, and that comes out in the businesses.
So, Jay.
I slightly characterize Kotak as different than a family business. I think of us as a principal shareholder in a regulated and listed business. But I do see banking as a very long gestation, multi-generational, often multi-century business. The fact that banking is in itself such a rooted and trust-based business. I think for success in banking, there are three things: risk management, excellence in technology, which is new, and scale. Without those three, I don't think banks get anywhere, and excited about the future of India and Kotak's place in that future.
Keshav, your
I think the way we are thinking of a family business is evolving. It's evolving to being a family office concept where, the resources, time, entrepreneurial spirit, capital is all being fueled, but in different means and vehicles, which is in today's world of software and technology, it is evolving. I also agree that most family business or entrepreneurs or founders are actually entrepreneurs, end of the day. It was many decades ago that they started with little capital, some idea, and really pursued on it. So realistically, a lot of the new age entrepreneurs, the old age entrepreneurs, and I have the benefit of seeing both sides, are actually entrepreneurs. So, and then in one side of the business, there are family members that have joined, which are enabling longevity and building an institution. So I completely agree. I think the backbone of India are family businesses, and will continue to be so over the next few decades, with innovation built into it now.
one of the important things when you are dealing with family businesses basically is the reputation that you have built, generations have built over a period of time. But whenever new generation comes in, they have their own perspectives, their own ideas. There is often a clash of perspectives. How do you deal with situations like that? How do you resolve differences when you have different perspectives? I mean,
No, that's
you have three generations in.
Yeah, I'm the third generation. For us, actually, the values and the core systems and values are all the same. Even today, in my startup, which is Equal, it is hard work, determination, and perseverance in building whatever we're doing. Many decades ago, my grandfather did the same thing in the infrastructure business. So I feel the difficult discussion, I have never faced it because, we've been fortunate. There were multiple businesses, and each of us were given a space to operate, grow, and scale. But I've seen a lot of businesses and family houses having that tough chat. And it either leads them to becoming much stronger, or it leads makes them become stagnant and over time not as relevant.
So, Jay,
As second generation, we have to acknowledge that there is a privilege associated with being second generation, that there's a set of challenges and struggles that we don't have to experience. Within that context, when I was younger, I think all of us were a little more agitated, a little more disruptive, and a little more questioning how things used to happen and why things happen in a certain way. As you get older, there's some equilibrium where often our parents start listening to us on matters of business or of at least strategic nature related to the business, and we start acknowledging that, hey, some of the things that we were agitated about, maybe we were wrong and young and heated about it. So I think it's just about A, acknowledging your privilege, and B, finding the middle road of what's right across generations.
Siddharth, what's your view on this?
We are fourth generation, and it all begins at home as a kid on the dining table. Every day when we listen to our parents and our grandparents, and I've had the good fortune of spending a lot of time with my grandfather. He's 96 now, and he continues to go to office every day. I really respect his determination and his discipline, the way he's brought up not only his kids, his grandkids. And I have learned immensely by just sitting around him. When it comes to transmission of such values over a period of time, the kids pick it up along the way. And in terms of having difficult conversations, as long as it's about upbringing, of course, but then everybody has their own perspective over a period of time. It's important for parents to try and understand the kids' perspective as well. And as long as you view it from that perspective, I think there won't be any need for difficult conversations.
So you've been involved in business for 30 years. How are family charters and family constitution helped in smoothing out the transition process?
So, as per our statistics, there's only 24% of large-scale intergenerational family businesses in India which have written family charters. This is a statistic that I give you from last year. As opposed to this, back in 1998 or 1999, when we were talking about succession planning, when we were talking about family charters, you needed to have an education session with the patriarch of the family simply for him to understand what the hell we are talking about. There was no understanding of the whole global concept. And globally, this was still very common. And there were very large global family businesses even back then, of having a set of regulated norms which then lay out what the boundary conditions are for individual members of every generation to contribute into the family business. And it was perfectly okay, or it is perfectly okay in the context of a charter to say, if XYZ member of the second generation or the third generation or the fourth generation does not wish to be a part of the family business, there is a very, very well laid out orderly process in which he or she can pursue his or her aspirations in a manner that does not hurt the main family business. So have this discussion at a time when there's no need to have a tough chat. To have a tough chat at a time when there's no need to have a tough chat is the best time to have a tough chat. If things have already morphed to the point where you need to have that chat, it's a much tougher conversation.
The reality is businesses are changing faster than ever. And competitive intensity is at its peak right now. Technology and capital used to be a differentiator, but no longer. After every, say, 15, 20 years, businesses either need to be fine-tuned or reinvented in some cases where they're disrupted. How do you plan to position and basically differentiate your business going forward?
So in our case, our family office owns the older businesses and new businesses that we've incubated. And the new businesses that we've incubated are actually the ones disrupting many businesses. Oh. So on one side, the business that I'm spending majority of time building, Equal, is disrupting a lot of businesses. And we will continue to use talent, technology, distribution, and execution to do that, because new age business models are already emerging everywhere. Yes. And that is very important and critical. If you don't stay ahead with the time, you will get disrupted in many ways. On the older generation businesses, we have been rapidly digitizing. So we are enabling it very quickly, because that is going to be very key to the scaling of that business.
So Jay, banking is one industry which has seen a lot of disruption. What would you do basically to differentiate your business?
So things are moving very quickly in general. And I think that the entropy of the world and the way everything is changing is something that all businesses need to be aware of, particularly banks, because we are often 7-to-1, 8-to-1, 10-to-1 leveraged institutions. So we have even less buffer when big change happens. In that context, there's a certain set of things that I think will not change,
okay.
Which is first principles risk management, playing for the long term, doing the right things on trust, integrity, etc., etc. But I think disruption is coming quick and heavy to financial services in the form of fintech players, in the form of international big tech players, and a changing landscape. Banks need to continue to invest substantially in technology and in customer service and customer experience.
So that not much changes in your business, but still you have to keep an eye out for competitors.
You very rightly mentioned the three businesses that we are in: industrial gases, cryogenics, and the cinema business. We do have leadership position in all three of them. It was tough getting there to the leadership position, but what's tougher is to maintain that position, to stay in that position. And when it comes to family businesses, the thing that we really need to focus on is innovation. Disruption comes in many different forms. In some cases, it may be digital. In other cases, it may be business competing. In cinemas, you have OTT competing, all sorts of things. So it's important for us as family businesses to maintain thought leadership in the respective industries that we are and continuing to invest in innovation.
So Vivek, what are the few tenets that a family business should do well to basically maintain that leadership?
See, I think the point that Sid made around innovation, one of the interesting things about a family business versus a financial sponsor-owned business, and we see a lot of financial sponsor-owned businesses now all over the place, right? Globally as well as in India. One of the interesting things is family business is built to last to perpetuity. This is the first principle you have to think about the long term. A family business has the KPI and the ability to think long term as opposed to a financial sponsor business, because a financial sponsor business will also develop business in a good way, but he knows at the back of his mind that he has to sell the business in 5 years, 7 years, 10 years. Whereas a family business will last to perpetuity ordinarily, unless a tough conversation leads to an outcome or unless there is a general sale of the business that occurs. Now, what that means is a family business is well positioned to play for the long term. So innovation that may immediately cause a P&L dip, but which will help me create another engine of growth in the business, is an innovation decision that a family business can take easier as opposed to a financial sponsor. This, I think, is investing for the long term is the core tenet that a family business must perpetuate in order to be able to stay relevant. The one thing or the one tenet that a family business must always guard against is play the business, don't play the individual interests of the family member.
Can you share a specific crisis or some cases which have taught you the most and it has shaped your approach to leadership and decision making? Sid, I'm going to start with you because COVID was something else. Every chief minister was calling you.
We firmly believe crisis reveals your character. And at that time, during COVID was, I think, the toughest time in India's period. And we were kind of at the center of it, being India's leading suppliers of medical oxygen. We were supplying over 800 hospitals directly in 17 states, and nobody understood the supply chain challenges that there were. We had a business, a cinema business, which was completely shut down for a year and a half. And then on the other side, you've got the oxygen business where there is no way of shutting that down. You had to go to work every day. So that period, of course, leading from the front, standing with your colleagues, with the troops, having a shared vision, and just being there, supporting them the entire time was what really saw us through that crisis. And, I hope we don't have to see it again, but we came out so much stronger because of it.
Keshav,
I think there are many crises that happen in every family business and in their cycles, and we learn to become stronger. Our family runs the world's largest ambulance service. So in India, we cover 1 billion people in 20 states. And the most difficult thing was that the ambulance driver and the EMT had to go to a place to pick up someone who had COVID. And it was so challenging that time for that organization, which is a non-for-profit with 60,000 people. They had to be on the ground and go pick up people. It was a nightmare. And I think we came out so much stronger from that as well, because people got, that pride you have that you've helped and helped lives. So that's amazing. And I think you always see opportunities in these crises. And I think that's my learning. I think keep your eyes on the opportunity rather than all the crisis negativity that comes in.
How did COVID impact your business, Jay?
Demon and COVID were events in the financial sector that definitely required navigation. I think testament to at least the way Kotak innovated is the advent of the 811 business, the 3-minute online account opening, the video KYC. All of these have come as direct outcomes of the fact that external shocks like COVID or system events like demonetization pushed us to innovate and think differently. So maybe it would be harsh to call those two crises from a financial sector perspective.
Sure. Vivek, you work closely with Indian businesses, and a lot of them are basically going through a transition right now. But when I talk to these new young leaders, the way they think about business, the way that they interact with their elders is very different. Do you see any change in the way this interaction has changed over the period of the last, say, 20, 25 years?
Not at all. I think the basic impulse of intergenerational behavior remains identical. Of course, today's generation is a little bit more digital savvy. Today's generation is a little bit more conscious of how their businesses can get disrupted. Today's generation is also, I feel, less entitled. They recognize the fact that they've been put into a situation because they happen to be born in the family, and that's a privilege that most of the younger generation realizes. I think that's perhaps the only change.
So one of the significant problems of family business is this role conflict. So the problem is, how do you manage these relationships? You have professionals working. You also have a role in which you are not the leader yet, but in a mid or junior role. How do you manage these dynamics? Siddharth?
I think it's fundamental to earn the trust of your colleagues and to earn their respect. And I think the only way you can do that is if you actually start, from I won't say the bottom. It's easy with the same last name to come in from the top. But if you want to continue that legacy, grow the business, you have to work with people. No man is an island.
How do you see, Keshav?
Many decades ago, it was always about control, the one decision maker at the top in the family business. That has also evolved a lot. It's been democratized. Today, we have to find the right person, give them the right ability to lead and execute, and just ensure that they deliver on the shareholders' goals. So I think it is more of a trusting relationship, and you pick the right people who have the capability rather than guiding or even instructing. So that has changed a lot over the years.
Jay, what's your view on this?
At Kotak, I am a professional too. I am a couple of levels of reporting down from the CEO, who in turn works very closely with the board. Of course, the last name is an undeniable reality that we can't run away from, but fundamentally, I'm a professional, and I think that the day I lose that, it's not good for the institution.
Do you also have annual appraisals?
Yes, absolutely. I'm given frank feedback. A lot of the professionals at Kotak have been around 25, 30, 35 years. I was a little boy, so they are in all letter spirit far senior to me.
In most cases, I think role definitions have become far clearer. Professionals themselves have changed.
Yes.
So the equation between CEO professional versus an owner manager, that itself has undergone a fundamental shift. And at least for the larger businesses, I think role definitions have been put in place where the last name does not automatically earn you all the control rights. It earns you everything else that it ought to earn you, but not necessarily the control rights to direct stuff immediately.
How do you look at M&A? Is it core part of your growth strategy, or it's occasional opportunistic play?
In Equal, which is, I think, a little context, it's India's largest consent-based data sharing company. We see M&A as a core part of adding part of value system stacks, because it takes a lot of time to build to some scale, and it is more prudent for us to undergo acquisitions to scale up. So in this business, our focus is to do a lot of M&A, but doing a lot of M&A is very challenging and difficult if the cultural alignment is not met. So for us, one of the most important things is that if the culture meets the sort of the barrier, we have already done one. We'll continue to do many of them, which gives us access to certain spaces and capabilities that will take us longer to build.
What's your view, Vivek?
This depends on the facts and circumstances of each business. I think
business,
Keshav put it beautifully. But I think in terms of transition through the years, as one has watched this space now for a few decades, the basic inclination of younger owner managers like the group sitting here is to be far more open to M&A than earlier. I will also say that the market has also transformed a little bit. This whole notion of sellout used to be like a social stigma. That is gone. So I think M&A is now getting to be seen in the context in which it should be seen. Economic benefit, rationally is it good or not, and less about ego, control, scale, etc.
So, what are the two factors that make you optimistic about India, and what is the one single biggest concern, Keshav?
I think the opportunities for India, it's never been a better time than to be in India. And it's a multitude of factors, political, social, democratical, and generally economical, all together coming together. Obviously, the negative sides of it also there exist, like any society, like any country. But I think it's important for us to have a balanced long-term view. And becoming a $10 trillion economy is very well in sight if we grow at this scale.
Sure, Jay.
I'm deeply impressed and excited by the kind of talent pool we have in India in the business that I work in, which is an intersection of financial services, technology, and data science. There are very, very few countries in the world that have this kind of bench of young, capable, and qualified talent, and that's something that India is very unique. The second one is effective market size. If there's one thing I would worry about, it's us as a society getting ahead of ourselves and not acknowledging that we do have deficiencies and we do have things we need to work on, and often not being a victim. And we're not perfect, though we are amazing.
So that
We are eternal optimists for India. The biggest strengths that India has is stability. Stability as a nation, which is consistently growing, attracting foreign capital. We've got a great pool of intelligent talent, and we have this the population demographic, which I don't see this only as us living in the now in India, but you look at the next 50 years. I see India's place in the world on various fronts, not just as a domestic economy, but as a world leader, becoming more and more prominent over the next 50 years. I'm excited that I get to witness this, and I'm sure all of us are going to play a very active role in ensuring that happens and we keep our place there.
Vivek, Indian businesses were not investing in India. What changed in the last 5 years?
The way I look at it is, I look at it over a more secular period. And I say, okay, 1990s was a time when we started off with a crisis, but investment started to happen. 2000s was a time when, at least up until 2007, there was a fair bit of local investment happening. From there on to 2020 was, let's say, ups and downs. From now the cycle we are sitting in, globally people want to invest in India, locally people want to use their money to invest to grow businesses. So we are in the midst of a secular long-term investing cycle, which will have its dips and rises.
One of the most important decisions in your lifetimes going forward is going to be basically the role of AI. How are you seeing AI as a disruptor or as an enabler?
So AI can do two things. We have to be clear. One is it can build insane amount of efficiency on the back end side of a business, or it can disrupt experiences for consumers on the front end consumer side. We at Equal are actually building our consumer application, which is an AI first product. So actually we are going to be driving a lot of that innovation and we hiring a new team, only an AI first team only for that.
Yeah.
So firstly, I'll candidly say I don't know, and where it goes is very, very hard to tell. And frankly, I don't think anybody can conclusively make a prediction. With every good, there's bad, and I don't know.
Said
It certainly will disrupt, there's no question, but it will disrupt different industries in different ways. I think in the industries in which we participate, it will be an enabler.
Vivek, Do you see many mandates coming from Indian businesses?
Look, businesses have no choice. They may say they know, they may say they don't know, but they have to get their arms around this animal. Therefore, will investments be made in AI? Yes. I mean, we at Deloitte have created a whole team of AI engineers. We look at this business as a huge growth area, even in the context of how we deliver our services. And I think consumer experience, but also aggregating, assessing large masses of data, and then using it to drive behavior is something that AI can do in a way that nothing else can.
Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you very much for sparing time out of your busy schedules and doing this. Really appreciate it. It looks like India Inc. is in safe hands. Thank you.